Oh my gosh, LaDonna, we've made it. We're here. We're here. Happy CASA Awareness Day.
Yes, the inaugural CASA Awareness Day.
Yeah. So this is exciting because we typically do these on LinkedIn, and today, as you know, but those who are watching this, we're also on Facebook and we're on YouTube right now. So thank you everyone for whoever's joining us wherever you're watching from. We're really glad you're here. We also want to know where in Georgia or in the world you're watching us from. So if you want to leave us in the comments, leave us a chat, tell us where you're watching from. We would love to hear from how you're bringing CASA into your community. And also, if you are a CASA volunteer or CASA curious or whatever your relationship is with CASA, let us know in the comments too. We'd love to hear that. So yeah, thank you for being here, y'all.
All right, so we're going to bring in our first panel guest today. Her name is Yvonne, and Yvonne is so amazing. She is a CASA volunteer from CASA of Lowndes and Eccles. Welcome, and we're so happy to have you here with us today, Yvonne. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you all?
We are great. Today has been a wonderful day.
Yes.
And thank you for joining us. We also have Vicki from CASA of Northwest Georgia. Vicki, how are you today?
Doing great. How's everybody? Glad to be here.
Thank you, Vicki. We're so happy to have you with us. And then our final panelist is Enrique, and he is our CASA volunteer from the Juvenile Court of DeKalb County. How are you, Enrique?
I'm doing great. Very happy to be here. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Enrique.
Awesome. So I do want to thank all of our panelists for joining. So today, our conversation is really going to be about what is the CASA volunteer experience like. So we are just to give you a quick overview of what CASA stands for. That stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. So when children are in foster care in Georgia, we have a system in our state where a volunteer can be assigned to that child's case. And what they'll do is they'll visit them every month, get to know them, and then go with them to court hearings and help represent them in the courtroom in their best interest. So we're going to dive a lot deeper into that and what that looks like with our panelists here today and hear from them and their experiences. And as you heard, we have panelists representing different areas of our state. So the answers and the variance might show up a little bit here, but that's what we're happy to have these different perspectives in. So thank you again to our panelists, and we are going to just dive right in. And I think LaDonna, you're up with our first question.
That's right. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in, as Rochelle said, in our red today, sporting our red sneakers. So Yvonne, how did you come to CASA? So I have a two-parter. How did you come to CASA, and when did you first hear about CASA? Can you share a little bit about those with us, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I first heard about CASA years and years ago. I'm actually from New Mexico, and I was working for an attorney that did adoption cases. So thinking back now, I think he was probably the guardian ad litem. And he just mentioned CASA to me, thinking that I'd be interested in that. At that time, my life went in a different direction. I joined the military. I moved to Georgia. Got married, had a baby. So after I separated from the military, I found myself in a place of wanting to be a part of something I cared about and was passionate about. So I looked online to see if there was a CASA. I remembered, hearing about CASA, and fortunately there was a program in my area. So I was just so happy to start that journey.
Super cool. I love how that interconnected. You didn't know what you were walking into, and then because of your job, now you found out about CASA. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
We know, like, when people hear about CASA, I think there's different elements of the work that we do that really connects and clicks with people too. It's usually everyone comes from a different background and they have a different experience. So when they hear that mission, it clicks in different ways. So Enrique, I would love to hear from you what about the CASA mission hooked you when you first heard it, and when did you see yourself as a part of this as a volunteer?
Oh, yeah. Well, the mission is hard not to get hooked into by anyone. I mean, it's simply speaks about helping our kids receive a safe and positive, healthy learning environment while they're away from home, right? So if you think about it, kids are there by no fault of their own. And by definition, a kid is unable to secure those things for themselves, right? So this is just a role where you are going to look after the interests of the kids. It's a voluntary role. I applauded that somebody very smart in the government made it a national role, and recognizing that probably our services are not that sufficient. They are stretched thin, and we need somebody to advocate for the kids. So always when it's about helping others do well, that's very inspiring. So it didn't take a lot for me to join. I found about this from a friend. I recently retired. I wanted to be more involved in giving back a little bit back to the community, and this was kind of like the perfect role for me.
Thank you so much, Enrique. But before you were able to become a CASA volunteer, you had to fill out an application. So, Vicky, how was your application process when you decided that you wanted to be a CASA volunteer? What was that application process like for you?
It was actually very easy. There's the electronic or paper application process, a couple references, and a interview process with people from the local CASA office. They make you comfortable. We did it via Zoom, but it is very much a very easy application process to go through. And I kind of piggyback on Enrique, who was a CASA volunteer also. Our youngest daughters went through high school together. So I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but I was retiring and I wanted to find something to sink my teeth into, and she helped talk to me a little bit about CASA. So advocating for CASA and our roles is it helps us bring volunteers into the environment, into the process.
Mm-hmm. May I build a little bit on something that Vicky just said of the application process? Yeah. One of the things that impressed me a lot, at least here in DeKalb County, the application process actually sets a high bar. They do not want a volunteer that will come and go the day after tomorrow, who's not really committed, who doesn't have their heart and mind into it, and that type of thing. To the point that if you, for a moment, you think they're discouraging you from going ahead, but they're really making you think of all the trade-offs and the personal choices that you have to take into account before you commit. So at least here in DeKalb County, it is wonderfully run, the whole program. The training was fantastic, but I do want to say it requires serious commitment, and I'm happy to report that they do not take it lightly. They set a high bar.
Yeah. That's a great point, because we know that the whole point of this volunteer role is to be that consistent presence in a child's life. And so when there's that inconsistency, and like just making sure, we want to make sure the volunteers are ready and committed, just like you said, and that this is the right fit, not just for us, but for you, that this opportunity is the right fit for you. So I'm really glad you added that. Thank you for sharing. And so we do want to ask a little bit more about this process. So for Yvonne, for you, I know you said yesterday we were chatting, you've been volunteering for 2 years. So it's pretty recent for you. So that process from that application that we've been talking about to the training process and that swearing in, when you say in front of the judge, like you're committing to be that volunteer, how long did that take for you, and what was that process like?
Yeah, I think it was about 3 or 4 months that kind of took where I applied. I started the training. The training for us took 9 weeks, and I was sworn in the month after. And then about a month after that, I was assigned my first case. So it was very manageable, with our schedules.
And I love that you said that it was very manageable with your schedule, because we understand that CASA volunteers come from all walks of life, and maybe an in-person training might be better or a virtual. So speaking of that, we do offer our trainings that for you to become a CASA volunteer, we offer them both in person and virtually. So Enrique, please tell us about your volunteer training and what was it like for you, whether it was held in person or virtually?
Yeah. No, mine was, I was able to do it in person. They offer it both ways, like you said. Mine was very much like Yvonne's. It took about 7 or 8 weeks. We would get together once a week for about 4 hours or so, go through certain content. We would have homework. They gave us very broad instructions in all aspects of the job, social, personal interrelationships, legal framework, the court system itself, how it operates, and so on. So they really prepared us. One of the things that's really, really empowering of the training is that it has a lot of role playing and case studies. So they put you in real life situations. These case studies were probably a case sometime before, and you got a chance to get the feedback, what went well, what you could do differently, and which are your boundaries. It helps also understand the CASA role, knowing your boundaries.
Yvonne, I know you're in school, so you're familiar with homework, but for me, I was like, oh, when was the last time I had homework? So I love that, though. I think it's kind of, I think one theme that's emerging from our conversation so far is like just the seriousness of it, and like the how important it is to come to it, like you were saying, reflecting on yourself and coming to it in that space. So Vicki, I do think this would be helpful for those watching to hear about what a typical month looks like. And I'm going to say typical because I know things are different day to day. So share a little bit about what that looks like.
Okay. So, our first responsibility is to make sure that we see our children during the month. So that's one of the first things that I try to get scheduled, is to see my children, because not only are you working with your schedule, you're working with the foster parents or the school or extracurricular activities be going on. So it's important to try and get that scheduled. The earlier the month, the better, because stuff and sometimes you have to reschedule, so that gives you a little bit of leeway to get that visit in before the end of the month. Then I have any upcoming court dates that I have to hit, which means that I would also have a report that and panel look to see what information I still need to gather from insight, whether it's therapist or teacher or counselors, the biological parents, the foster parents, whoever, just as much information. I emphasize that a lot during training, is we are gatherers. So we try to gather as much information as we can so we can advocate the best for our children and make sure that we have as much information that we have so that we can present to the judges the best case for that child.
So it seems like there's a lot of moving parts. I was just listening that you got to meet with therapists, you got to collaborate with the foster parents, the attorneys. So that sounds like the flexibility is so key. So Yvonne, you are a parent. You shared with us you're a parent. You shared with us that you're in school. How flexible is the role for people who might have work full-time, or even have families? What are your thoughts there, and how has that worked for you?
Yeah, no, I think it's very flexible. When I started the training, I was working full-time, and a lot of the volunteers were as well. So our CASA program here offered training like after business hours. So that worked for us. And I was fortunate enough to have my husband, take care of our child while I went to training once a week, like Enrique was saying, and it was for that 9 week. But I think if you're passionate about something and you can feel that you're going to make an impact to your community, you just kind of make time for it and you make it a priority. Yeah.
The job actually offers a lot of flexibility, because you can schedule when you want to go visit your child. You can schedule when you want to talk to your boss or you want to talk to the case manager and so on. There's a lot of preparation work that you do on your own, like preparing a report for the court and stuff like that. So if somebody's thinking, I work full time and this is just probably not for me, don't. You can manage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we have found too that some employers, a lot of volunteers will talk to their employers about. Oh, go ahead, Vicki.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that a lot of information and you can gather electronically. So you're emailing and asking for information and they can email you back. So it's not like you're having to spend time driving someplace and setting up an appointment. A lot of the information and the insight that you're gathering can be done electronically.
That's a great point. And what I was saying a second ago is that if a lot of volunteers will talk to their employers who will work with them on like those few times that there's something a little more flexible, like going to court. And so that's something that if this is something you're interested in, know that oftentimes people are really happy to support this mission in whatever way they can. But that also brings me to my next question for Enrique, which is, who do you work with as a CASA volunteer? You mentioned a lot of people there a second ago, and Vicki mentioned the people she's reaching out to. So share a little bit about that community, that network that's involved in a child's case.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's basically three main people that you work with. One of them is the case manager or case worker. That's typically from DFACS. The second person is the guardian ad litem that Yvonne mentioned earlier. That's the lawyer whose sole role is to protect and advocate for the interests of the child. And then the third person is your boss, or I'd rather than boss, I think of them as my partner, my coach, the person who runs the program, my coordinator. They have probably half a dozen, if not a dozen, CASAs like me. They've seen a lot of different cases, and I use her so much just to bounce back ideas. But those are the three people. The case manager, of course, has the power to do things and influence things and, secure resources for the kid. So that's the one you want to influence. And the guardian ad litem, of course, is the one that has the power to influence in favor of the kid in the court, the judge's decisions.
So lots of people to know. So just thinking about those people that you have to know, we're going to rewind it and ask Yvonne, what was it like your first time going into the courtroom? How was that experience for you?
I think Vicki had mentioned that she had gone to court for her cases several times. I know, for my case, I was going to go to the hearing and I had done the court report, but I had to be out of town for the actual hearing date. So my CASA coordinator stepped in and filled in for me. But I think the CASA training will prepare you for what to expect and how the court process goes and how the hearing typically goes. So I think that prepares you a lot for when you have to go for the hearing for your case. Yeah.
I have you on that the court observation you get insight into what to expect. So it can be a little bit scary at first, but you just have to rely on about what's going on. And then
Oh no. Vicki, I think we're losing you a little bit here. But
Your coordinator sitting right there beside you, giving you moral support.
Awesome. So what I'm just going to summarize really quick a little bit from that. That when you're in training, you also do court observation is something that happens as a part of the training process. So when you go to court with your coordinator and you get to see other volunteers in action, you get to see the flow of the courtroom. So by the time that you are there, you're never alone. You have that support of the CASA program as well, and you're able to lean on them as you need along the journey and have that observation and that support along the way. Enrique, do you want to add anything to what I said or what has been shared already?
I think that captures it really well. Yeah.
Perfect. So my next question for you then is how we talk a lot about these relationships, right? That we're building as a volunteer with the people involved in a child's case. So I wonder, how do you remain, or how does any CASA volunteer remain objective in this work? Because we all bring our own life experiences into this, right? So what are some things that help you remain objective on the case?
Wow, Rochelle, that's a great question. I think about it more in terms of being really, really well informed and finding ways to add value. And if I keep always as my sole North Star that I'm looking for the interests of the child, I think that I'm going to remain objective. So specifically, do your homework, visit the child. If you find something that's makes a little noise, if you see something that bothers you a little bit, dig deeper, be curious, don't assume, right? So I'll give you a very quick example that happened to me not too long ago. This little girl who's about age 7, she was sleeping in a small bed. The small bed had the theme of Snow White, and she loved that bed. Now, I initially assumed, oh my gosh, why is this poor girl sleeping here? I mean, her feet are hanging. I mean, she should have because it was for like a 5-year-old child, and she was a little too big for that, If I had assumed that she wasn't being taken care of by offering a proper bed or whatever, my conclusion or my recommendation would have been very different. But fortunately, I had the wisdom to ask her, why is she sleeping in that bed? And she jumped immediately to say, because that's my favorite place in the house. That's my bed, and nobody can take that bed away from me. And it's her secure blanket. That is where she feels comfortable and safest, So don't draw the wrong conclusion simply because you're not curious and you don't ask. I think that if you do that and you test yourself and your thesis, you'll be objective.
Wow.
That is so powerful. You went that extra step, and it seems like, just from hearing from all of you, you got to take that extra step. And so let's talk a little bit about it, Yvonne. I'm going to ask you a question about how impactful things have been for you. Enrique just showed us the impact that he's received, but what about how impactful have you seen from your work as a CASA volunteer?
Yeah, I mean, I think every time I visit my kids, my CASA kids, they're excited, and we have like playtime together, some quality time, and then whenever I leave, they give me hugs goodbye, and they know that they'll see me soon. So I think the impact is on these kids, to be like a positive light in their life and consistent, a consistent person there. So I think that's just to be seen, for them to be heard. So that's what I
love that. Yesterday when we were chatting, I think you said it's those little things, those little moments. And I love that, because I think sometimes with impact, especially in this kind of work, we don't always see it right away. A lot of times it's seeds that are planted. It's these little moments that sometimes later will have a blossoming and a blooming.
And I think, Yvonne...
So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But Yvonne touched on something really important. Oftentimes, the CASA ends up being the point of continuity throughout the years, because this can take years that a child may be in the foster system. The gal, the guardian ad litem, or the lawyer may change. The caseworker may change many times, but the CASA becomes a point of continuity. I haven't been there long enough to develop such a long-term relationship, but I'm sure, Yvonne, soon you will be, being maybe lifetime friends. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Building that rapport with them. And I think what's important too is that they feel seen as well, that you're spending that time with them. And I think that makes a big impact in their lives. Yeah.
Vicki, if I know
In
you came
addition
out
to
back
that,
in for a second, so I didn't know if you wanted to add
sometimes
on.
cases
Yeah.
close. I just was going to say that sometimes the case closes and then suddenly they come back into care, and so you connection. Um, because the attorneys might have changed, the guardian ad litem might have changed, but you.
Yeah, thank you. So I think, Vicki, I'm so glad you're here because you have such you are serving on 4 cases. She shared with us yesterday. Most of the time, volunteers share on 1 case. So we know that her experience is varied as well in that regard. So we're very glad we're here. I hate that there's a little bit of a lag, but thank you for sticking with us and sticking it out. So our next question is about this for Enrique, and it's really about some of those challenges. So I was wondering, what you have found to be a challenging aspect of being a CASA volunteer.
Well, oftentimes we want to see results very quickly. We're impatient by definition, right? And it takes time, So the court system, while it's good, it's not perfect. It requires patience and resilience, and getting a piece of paper oftentimes takes a long time, So nothing is perfect. Just telling myself, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And if you can hang in and make a difference every day, even if you're not seeing the difference now, just have the faith and trust the process and trust the system that your fingerprint will probably may make a difference at one point. So to me, the biggest challenge is just don't have such big expectations about quickness and turning things around and solving world hunger. Just focus on the life that you can help and impact, and the little that you do is better than not doing anything.
Yeah. Thank you.
Gosh, that's so heartwarming. I mean, just to know that, you're one person can change a whole generation of families. So, and that's exactly what you all are doing. So sometimes we do have those difficult situations that we work with, but even with those difficult situations, we have those that are rewarding. So, Yvonne, what has been the most rewarding part of your CASA experience?
I think the most rewarding part is kind of, and I hate to keep repeating myself a little bit, but being, making a difference in these children's lives in a positive way, kind of even being like a good role model in their lives, and kind of them seeing like different possibilities or different ways, and being a voice, making sure that their voice is heard, and that you're covering all bases for them. So that's the most rewarding part. And also being a part of a community that we all have the same goal where we want to help children. And it's really amazing to see other people that have that same passion.
That's my favorite part of being involved with CASA is meeting y'all, meeting the volunteers across our state that have this passion, that have this heart, and the staff, the people that work at the CASA programs, right? It's just amazing that so many people really do care, and I think that like the connection and the hope that we bring to our communities every day, it is so touching and so special. So I love that you said that. I feel this every day in this work. I do wonder what Enrique and Yvonne, I know we talked about this a little yesterday, what surprised you most about volunteering with CASA?
Yeah, I think going through the training when we did court observation hours and hearing like the real situations that these children in my community are going through really motivates you to get started on your own case and try to make a difference, you know. So you really see the need in your community. I think that was surprising, just to kind of see that in where you're living.
Yeah. And in my case, I mean, one of the things that surprised me is how huge the need is. I mean, every year about 15,000 people go through the system, through the foster system, and maybe only 40 or 50% of them get a CASA assigned. I'm not saying that every case needs a CASA. Some cases are in and out very quick and they don't require one, but there is a lot of need. And I say that so that our public here, whomever is listening, don't underestimate your ability to help. You can, you know, and all you need to do is hear one of those success stories and be inspired and want to get into it.
Oh, wow.
We're hearing it from y'all.
Yeah.
I hope those who are hearing it now are inspired from these three amazing volunteers we have with us.
No. I was thinking, gosh, if I didn't already work for Georgia CASA, I would be signing up today, you know, Enrique. So I don't know if you're going to be, the three of you all are going to be our poster child, you know, advocates, but you guys are doing an amazing job just with your inspiring and true stories. You're really bringing us into your world that you experience when you're working with it. So even to, I was looking at the chat and I saw that we have some people that are CASA curious. So one of the things that they might be asking right now is like, what kind of background do I have to have? You've talked about you work with attorneys, you work with judges. Do I have to like have a social work background? So Vicki, can you tell us like, who do I have to be? What do I have to know to be able to come into this field as a volunteer?
Oh no, we lost her again. All right, someone jump in. Help us
Yeah,
out.
I mean, I don't
Okay,
think you can be anyone really, as long as you have a good record, you know, right? You don't have to be a social worker or a background in any of those things, or a legal background at all. When I started training, I was doing a job that was completely not in this field whatsoever. So, and Enrique, I don't know if you have what your background.
No, completely agree with you. I actually did not even grow up in this country, so I didn't even know the first thing about the legal system, and I'm able to navigate it. One of the reasons is that everybody's really trying to do their best. People will help out. My social worker, I mean, she would take the time, even as busy as she is, to walk me through so that I can be effective and efficient. You know, so just jump in.
Yeah.
You'll float.
You'll float. I love that. You'll float. You'll learn how to swim on your way up, right?
Yeah. You won't just survive, you'll thrive.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so like let's say we have someone CASA curious here and they hear that they don't need any legal background, but we know that hearing that they're in court, hearing about like the court reports, all of that can be intimidating and might overwhelm some people sometimes, right? So I just wonder if you have ever been where you feel overwhelmed, like what happened, like what kind of support is there for you? So Yvonne, would you share a little bit about those moments and what support you have?
Yeah, I mean, my CASA coordinator and my CASA director are so sweet and so supportive with anything that we need. They are a good sounding board for anything going on with our case, if we need help or advice with anything. And like I had said earlier, in cases of emergencies, they understand that we have lives. And one of them, stepped in, my coordinator stepped in for a court hearing because I couldn't attend. So, yeah, they are our support, and they just are amazing. Yeah.
Well, we know that, the CASA staff couldn't do what they do without you. So you guys are the cream of the crop of, the whole CASA organization. And we were talking earlier, like, even with the question, like, what type of background do I have to have? But Enrique, I want you to dig deeper. Like, what kinds of qualities are we looking for in someone that's going to make a very good CASA volunteer?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, quality is definitely, you like I mentioned a moment ago, you want to have initiative and curiosity. You want to be a self-starter. You cannot just rely on information you get and not to double check it, and not really dig a little deeper. So this is just basic initiative and follow through, basic critical thinking. And then, of course, very, very important, the empathy, the desire to understand and feel, and have a little bit of compassion of what other people are going through, to be the source of energy. The empathy is the source of energy. Your mind and your curiosity is what will give you the data to add value. I don't know if that helps.
No, it does. It does. I mean, it puts things into perspective on who's going to be a good fit for it. And,
Mhm.
and you've shared some things that is really, like you said earlier, that setting the bar and setting that standard of, these are the people we want. People that are compassionate. We want people that have or that are intuitive and that can go deeper than the surface is sometimes. So thank you so much for, just giving us your heart behind that thought.
Sure.
And so this will be our last question, and I'll put it out there for y'all, is what do you wish more people understood about children in foster care and about this work?
I think that there's just a lot of children in foster care, and that they need positive influences in their lives, and for someone to listen to them, right? So I think it's just that it's like, hey, we're out here, and if you just like to help people, I think that's what brought me here. Is I just like to help. And then for more anything, like the children are such a vulnerable population, and when you have so much uncertainty in these situations, I think it makes it worthwhile to help, to do your part.
Yeah.
Enrique, there's something you said yesterday that I really stuck with me, is that no child is there for any fault of their own. And I think that that's so powerful to think about and reflect on too.
Yeah, absolutely. And this system simply tries to give them the opportunity to grow up with the things that we probably grew up and we now may take for granted. Basic things like safety, like food on the table, like an education, like emotional stability, a support system, what our parents gave us. And oftentimes when children are separated from their homes, and if it happens for a long period of time, all of those things can be at risk. And the CASA role is precisely to safeguard and look after those basic needs.
Oh, wow. You all have been amazing today, and just sharing with us what it is. So like I said earlier, if I was watching today and I was CASA curious, I would want to know, like, right now today, what do I need to do to get started? So Rochelle, how can someone get started after today's event? Like, we're going to be finishing a little bit. They're interested. What's their first step to get started?
I'm so glad you asked, LaDonna. The first step is to go to gacasa.org/grow. And on here, there's a directory you can look up where your local CASA program. We have 159 counties in Georgia, and fortunately, we have CASA in all of them. So there are 47 CASA local programs. So if you don't know your local program, you can go to that website right there, and there's a directory. You can type in your county and find that program for you. And there's also a way, if you want to just fill out an interest form and select your county, it'll automatically send them that interest email, and they'll have your contact and they can reach out to you. So either way, you'll get connected with your local program. So that's a great next step. You can also join our social community. If you're watching this, you're probably watching this on Facebook or LinkedIn or one of our social platforms, but just in case, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, Georgia CASA, and stay connected with us and keep up with what we're doing and opportunities to get more involved and to go deeper with the work we're doing. And I also want to know what other ways, so LaDonna, if you could share a little bit, I'm going to pull up some questions from viewers, and if you haven't asked your question yet, we're about to jump into our Q&A, so you can go ahead and put your question in the comments. So while I'm pulling those up, LaDonna, could you share other ways people can support CASA, maybe if volunteering isn't a right fit for them right now?
Sure, absolutely, because we know volunteering as a CASA is just one of the many ways that you can get engaged. And that's what I love so much about CASA, because we're multifaceted. So one of the things that you can do is, number one, you can spread CASA's mission within your networks, on social media. So if you found an organization, if you find out today, hey, I want to do something, but I don't know, I know I can't be a CASA volunteer right now. Find out which region or which county you want to serve in within your locale, and go ahead and start sharing their Facebook posts, their social media posts. Be the voice outside of being a volunteer. You can advocate for them. You can donate. You can fundraise, even amongst your friendship group. You can start your own fundraisers, but also most of our CASA affiliates have their own fundraisers. So you can join forces with them and help them fundraise. I think Lowndes and Eccles has a really fun Mardi Gras or Valentine theme fundraiser coming up in the next couple of weeks. So, hey, find out about all of these. All of our affiliates have wonderful fundraisers, and you can also provide that in-kind support. So maybe it's not a financial base that you can get in. Well, what about your time? So if you just want to donate your time and things like that. And then finally, there's ways that you can serve on their boards, as well as serve on committees. So if you have leadership skills, or you have a history in finance or strategic development, any of those things, bring in your experience and find a way that you can help out if you're not quite ready to go in full force and serve as a volunteer. So I've just given you a couple, but I know there's many more ways that you can get involved. So if you have those questions like that, just go ahead and put them in the chat, and we can continue to answer those for you.
Awesome. Thank you. We actually don't have very many questions, but I did want to just share a few that we did have. So Tiffany B asked if we're able to volunteer in counties outside of our residence. She wants to give back to the county she grew up in. So volunteers are able to select the county that they want to serve in. Sometimes we find that a volunteer might live in one county and work in another county, and so they choose the county that's most convenient for them to attend the court observation or go to court. So I would definitely say when you fill out your interest form, or when you're looking on that directory, and it's all listed by county. So find the county that you're interested in or that is most convenient for you to serve in. And that is definitely up to the volunteer discretion. We do also know that when people move in the state and things like that, oftentimes they'll finish the case where they are before transferring to the new CASA program local to them. So just keep that in mind as well. If you do end up transferring, a lot of it, a lot of the training is the same and very consistent, but there is some differences across courtrooms in Georgia. So those court observations are going to be key to getting to know how your court operates and what is best practice for your the program that you are going to be serving in. Anything I left out? Anybody? No? Okay. And then lastly, I just wanted to share this comment from Lori. She says that children are worth every moment of our service. When I was appointed last April and received a case with a need for Spanish, I was so happy to use my Spanish speaking skills. I love that. I think that's so powerful and special to think about. We don't always know what our skills that will be relevant and helpful in these cases, but sometimes just showing up as your full self with your passion and your intention, you'll find a lot of different ways that your skills can bring life and light to a child in your community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is all we have for today as far as comments and conversation. Is there, oh, wait, let's see. Here's one here. Another question that came in last minute. Can volunteers share preferences for the kids they want to work with, like age range? All right, I will let Yvonne, do you want to answer this one?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. I think that's part of that is a question or on the application is what age group do you prefer? Like myself, I have a 5-year-old, almost 5-year-old child, so I'm very comfortable dealing with smaller age children. So that can, like you said, kind of come in handy, like the experience that you have. So.
Yeah, in my case, I don't have a strong preference anyway. I do acknowledge and recognize that there are some cultural affinities that can help you. Like, for instance, if I were paired up with a Hispanic or a Latino, there would be a natural connection there. We could probably talk about soccer in Mexico or whatever, that type of thing. So those things may help. But I don't ever, as I tell my coordinator, I don't ever want that to be a deterrent. I want to be sent where the need is.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. Is there anything we didn't ask you that you want to share before we say goodbye?
No, I think we kind of covered it all. Yeah.
I just want to thank you for the forum. I think you guys run a fantastic program. I'm so proud to be a little bit of, just to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Same here.
We are so glad to have y'all in our network and in the state and in your communities doing the work that you do. And to everyone watching, please go visit gacasa.org/grow to learn more and find your local program. And we will see y'all next time. Bye now.
Bye-bye. See you
Bye,
guys later.
everybody.
Thank you, Ladonna.